person for me.
Hello, welcome to Conjugal Bliss. I am Dr. Priscilla Ashonibare. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be continuing our discussion on adultery today. Last week we were able to talk about the effect it has on the adulterer and also on the betrayed spouse. Today let's continue. We're going to be talking about the effect of adultery on the child. And also know that if all the effects that we spoke about especially on the marriage, if the effect that adultery has on the relationship between the husband and wife should continue, it is the basis of divorce, statistically, clinically, and biblically. Okay, and we also want to know what are the effects to have on the child or on the children, because some people will just think, okay, it will affect the husband and wife and blah blah, they go their separate ways, the children will just follow anyone they want, or whosoever the court should say the children should stay with, who will win the custody of the children, and blah blah blah. Now let's see, how will this adultery, even before it gets that extreme, just even discovering that one of the parents had been unfaithful, how will it affect the children? Number one, the child will expose the collapse of the world they knew from birth. And this would produce uncertainty in the life of the child. Yeah, sometimes they'll not see the child, they just think the child, maybe if the child is very young, they'll think, oh, nothing is happening. Okay, the child's life is still okay, just only maybe the financial needs or the presence of the parent that a child would miss. No, there's this high level of uncertainty that a child will experience, because the child will be wondering, are my parents going to be divorced? Are my parents going to be separated? What will happen between daddy and mommy? And blah, blah, blah. There's also, because of the uncertainty, there will be a sense of insecurity. What will happen to me? Some children might even think, okay, if I end up going with the one that is less economically strong, so will that parent be able to cater for my need? And that will bring about anxiety, because of course when there's uncertainty, there's insecurity, there's confusion everywhere, it will lead to anxiety, and that will bring about emotional instability. You now see such children begin to act out. They can begin to act out behaviorally, in that they can become rebellious. They can start to do things that are not expected of them because they want to attract attention negatively. They want to take the attention from both parents, maybe fighting, blaming, or whatever to them, and they want that attraction to come to them by all means. So if they can't get it positively, they do negative things to get the attention of the parents. And it can also cause academic failure, because such children would not be able to concentrate in class anymore as they should. They are disturbed about what is happening at home. They are disturbed about what is happening between their parents. So we now see that the grades will be falling, and that is why, please, those who are teachers should take note, and the counselors in school should be able to also counsel such children if in case they discover that the parents are going through such a turbulent time in their relationship. Another thing that effect it will have on the child, this one is very serious, is that it will give the child a distorted view of trust and commitment. It will give the child a distorted view of trust and commitment. So the child will say, anyway, what is it to trust anyone? What is it about to be committed to someone? After all, daddy and mommy, I thought they were committed to themselves. They had a very good marriage, and all of a sudden one of them went into adultery. So who else do you think you can trust? So number one, you see some of these children, they will say, I would never get married because I don't think I can trust any man. I would never get married because I don't think I can trust any woman. If one of that parent who went into adulterous relationship, for example, if my daddy can do that to my mom, that I don't think any man can be trusted. If my mom can do that to my dad, I don't think any woman can be trusted. And sometimes now, if they didn't go to the extreme of saying, I don't want to get married, and even sometimes it can be unconscious, it can be an unconscious thing that they will go into a relationship and before you know it, they get out of it, they go into a relationship, they get a fault, they find a fault, in the partner and they get out of it and things like that. Or another thing is sometimes they even get married, but when they get married, because they have a distorted view of what trust and commitment is all about, they will not be able to stay in the marriage because they already thought that, okay, it's okay, you can always go out of the marriage to get sexual gratification. After all, that is what my parent did. So you now see sometimes they will say the grandfather was an adulterous man, the father was an adulterous man, the son also is an adulterous man. Or sometimes they will say, don't marry from that family, don't marry from that compound, because they are women, they don't stay in their matrimonial homes. They are always found to be adulterous. Their great-grandmother, the mother, and you want to go and marry the daughter, and they won't know that it's something that somebody did that gave a wrong definition of what trust, faithfulness, and commitment is in marriage. Remember, as parents, you are the models that your children would follow. You are the one who is molding their conscience, molding their lives, giving them definition of what life is all about. So if you get it wrong, it will be transferred to your child, and who knows the number of generations down the line that this will have a ripple effect on their marriages as well. Because sometimes they'll start saying it is generational curse, Sometimes that is the basis for what we are thinking is a generational curse, where it all started from. Another thing is sometimes such children, they will bear the shame of the adultery of the parent. Imagine children talking and they say, we had your daddy, was an adulterous relationship. We had your mommy was an adulterous. Can you imagine the shame that kind of a child will be going through, having to, walk and talk and just try to be normal among their peers? Another thing that it would do is such children sometimes will internalize the whole situation. They will internalize it so much that it will affect their health, physical health. They can internalize it so much, can even affect their psychological well-being. There are even sometimes that such children will now try to take the blame on themselves and say, okay, it is my fault, maybe because when I was sick and I was hospitalized, maybe that was when daddy or mommy couldn't have time together as they should, and that is where one of them ended up in the adultery and blah, blah, blah. So sometimes such children will even blame themselves for the adultery, whereas it is not their fault at all. So you could see how much it will affect your child should you go into any adulterous relationship, or should you be in it right now when it is exposed. Have you seen how it will affect your child? You are going to be giving your child a wrong impression of what marriage is all about. I remember there was this lady that it took her a long time to get married, and what she was saying was, what my mother went through, what my dad did to my mom, I cannot allow any man to do such to me. So she refused to get married for a long time. And we've had cases of men who they are doing well, they have good jobs, matured, and people will be wondering why they're not getting married. It's because they have this fear of who can be trusted. Am I sure the woman I'm going to get married to is going to be faithful? Because I know what my mom did to my dad, how she went out, got an adulterous relationship, broke the heart of my dad, moved out with the man, and my dad was, had to go through the trauma and blah, blah, blah. And so he doesn't want to go through that, so he doesn't want to get married. Now, okay, we have spoken about the effect on the adulterer, the effect on the betrayed spouse, the effect on the relationship between the spouses, and the effect on the child. Now, let's go and talk about, should there be an adultery that has been discovered? Does that automatically mean that the family will collapse, the marriage will collapse? No. There are roads and bridges to healing the marriage. So let's talk about some of these roads and bridges to healing the marriage after adultery. I mean, how to repair the marriage after the adultery. When somebody will ask, can the marriage be healed after the adultery? The answer is yes, and the answer is no. The answer is yes if both parties are ready to go through the healing process and they are ready to be committed to the healing process. And the answer is no if one party is not ready to commit to it. Or, okay, let me hold it. Let me just say it that way. Now, recovery is possible, but requires complete, underline the word, complete accountability, honesty, openness, and transparency. I come again. After an adultery has been exposed, healing of the marriage is possible. It is possible if and when the spouses are ready to do what will make it possible. And this recovery will require complete accountability, honesty, openness, and transparency. If you're not going to do this, then there can't be healing of the marriage. And there should be empathy for the betrayed spouse. Because sometimes the adulterer will just say, okay, I've asked for forgiveness, so forgive me now, let's continue with life. It is not that easy. You just shattered somebody's life. You just destroyed somebody's trust. You've just hurt somebody deeply in the heart, and you just think it's something that you can just snap a finger and the marriage would end up the way it was. As a matter of fact, most times the marriage cannot go back to how it was. That aspect of the marriage is dead. Yeah, before the adultery, okay, the marriage as it was died. So what you can now do is, with the fragments you have, how can you now have a new, different kind of marriage? So after you have agreed there's going to be complete and total accountability, honesty, openness, and transparency, another thing you have to do is you have to set clear boundaries with that third party. The adulterer should do what? Should set clear boundaries. There should be no more contacting the third party. There should be no more talking or even having anything to do with the third party. That is when there can be healing in the marriage. And time and consistency is very important. You have to give it time. As I said, remember, trust is like the skyscraper that came crumbling down. So in the same way it took years to build the trust in the marriage, it will also take a long time for you to gain the trust of your spouse that you have betrayed again. And it will take you being consistently accountable, transparent, honest, and open. That is when healing can take place. Okay, now somebody is saying, okay, how can I do it? Okay, now let's break it down so that it will be doable and applicable. Number one, what you should do is stop the adulterous relationship completely. Completely. Don't say, just give me time. I will gradually disengage. There's nothing like gradually disengaging. Immediately, stop it. Put a halt. As a matter of fact, build a high fence. In your mind, let that fence have, let it be the one that has electricity, okay, that can shock whoever wants to penetrate through it. Okay, stop the adulterous relationship immediately and completely. Immediately and completely. And another thing that the adulterer will have to do is to take responsibility. As a matter of fact, full responsibility for his or her action. This is not time to start giving excuses. No. There are absolutely no excuses that you can give that can make you or wash you from the responsibility of your action. You have to admit the wrong. You have to admit the wrong and admit it clearly. Okay? Express genuine remorse. Don't just say, I'm sorry. Let's continue our lives. No. Even God said a broken and contrite spirit, God will not despise. So you have to really show that you are sorry, you're ashamed of what you have done, and you own your action. Own the action. It is only godly sorrow that will produce repentance, according to 2 Corinthians 7:10. Okay. You should make sure that you do not try to share the blame. The adulterous spouse should not try, because if you try to share the blame, then there won't be healing in the marriage. Don't blame your spouse at all. Don't blame circumstances at all. Don't even blame the third party. When I'm talking of the third party, I'm talking of that opposite sex that you went into adultery with. Don't blame that person. Don't say it is because she was always coming close to me, she was always doing this, she was always, actually I didn't want to go into it, he was always here, he was always there, he gave me a shoulder to cry on. Don't blame anyone. Own it. Yes, you've gone into it, you've done it, then you have to do what? To let your spouse know that you are deeply sorry and mean it. You know, there's a way people will say sorry and you know that they do not mean it. They're just saying it because maybe that is what is expected of them to say. Healing, remember, healing cannot take place without this. Okay? Now, another thing that you have to do in order for healing to take place is that you should do what? You should avoid all situations and circumstances that may suggest that you have anything to do with that third party again. Let your spouse know about all the boundaries that you have put in place to block out the third party. So don't just do it yourself. Let that spouse know, okay? Like the spouse, maybe the person they are into the adultery with is one of your workers and you are the one who own the company, you can as well just tell your spouse, okay, I have paid this person 3 months salary, 6 months salary, and I've laid that person off from my place of work, deleted the contact on my phone, deleted the numbers, and I have nothing to do with the person. I have blocked the person totally on my line, so that there'll be no way that person can contact me again. Because if you do not do such, it will keep the wound still fresh if you do not start the process of healing. Now, as I say, let your spouse know what, because that will help your spouse to know that you're serious about both of you coming together again as husband and wife. Because if your spouse does not know what you are putting in place to stop, you having contact with the same person, to block all the communication channels, to avoid situations and circumstances that will bring both of you together, and to make sure that you're not exposing yourself to that person again. If you do not tell your spouse, then your spouse will be thinking, am I sure this person wants this marriage to continue? Maybe somebody is now asking, what of in a situation whereby you cannot leave the job because that is where you are earning your income, and it will affect the family because it's the man that is affected, or it's the woman that's affected, the one that is the breadwinner of the home, and you don't want to lose the job. Then you can as well try to make sure that you let your spouse know, I won't entertain this person again. I won't go to anywhere with this person. It's just going to be official, maybe until when I can get another job, or until when I can start a business. At least carry your spouse along. Let your spouse know what you are putting in place to make sure that you sever every areas and situations where you can be able to have contact with the third party. So what we are saying, totally and completely, make sure you stop the relationship and you do things to make sure there is no iota of doubt in your spouse's heart that that relationship is continuing. Thank you so much for joining us today. By the grace of God, when we come back again, we are going to be continuing this topic, and the subtopic is what? Roads and bridges to healing after adultery in the marriage. Make sure that you join me again next week, same time on this same channel. And until I come your way again, I am Dr. Priscilla Ashonibare. Remain blessed.